and today we will talk about the Noteblock. Hi, I have no skin. As you may see, I reused the art I used for the jukebox. There's very few difference, isn't there? Well, the real version looks like this. And this is the recipe. You only need one redstone and 8 planks of any type. So let's see a few characteristics. The functions are to emit a sound or a note in response to one of 3 actions. First, if we right click on it, we will change its tune. The second one, and probably the main one, is that when it receives a redstone signal. And the third one, let's get first to survival, and we punch it. Yes, it will emit a sound, with no need to change it, as we did here. Of course, based on this mechanic using redstone, this has an interesting application, and this one involves allays. Once you give these allays some items, let's free these guys up. Once they find the item we assign to them, they're going to go for it and deliver it to us. But if we build a redstone clock, attach the Noteblock and constantly give them signals, you will see these wave particles heading towards the allays. After that, if they find some of these items laying around, they will not bring them to us, but they will deliver them towards the Noteblock. And that way we can build an automatic collection system. But we will not make a deep dive on allays, since the purpose of this video is explaining Noteblock mechanics and applications with redstone. There are a few ways this Noteblock can receive redstone signal. One way is directly with a redstone wire. A second way is to power a solid block adjacent to the Noteblock. And of course we can use as a solid block another Noteblock. As you can see, all 4 produce a tune. The Noteblock receiving the signal and the 3 adjacent ones, since the Noteblock is a solid block. One thing we have to take into account is that the Noteblock does not make an automatic redstone connection. For example, here we have a wire that just passes through one side. Nothing. Another requisite is that the block just over the Noteblock has to be an air block. For example, if we place a block over it, this will not produce a sound. And this includes even a button that is not touching the Noteblock. This even includes carpets. As you may have noticed in these experiments, they do sound different. Here's a sound, and here's a sound. So what's the difference? There is a property in Noteblock that the sound that the Noteblock is producing is dependent on what type of block is under the Noteblock. The image you are now seeing is one extracted from the Minecraft wiki. So here you can see a table or a list of the blocks you can place under a Noteblock and what sound it is going to produce, which is called the instrument. So you can see any wood type produces the bass sound, materials like sand or gravel produce the snare drum, here we have the soul sand which produces the cowbell, and others more. For example, here we have an air block. Or any soul type or any other block which is not already in the list is going to produce a harp sound. Any wood type is going to produce the string bass. This includes fences. A sand makes the snare drum. Any stone type is going to produce the bass drum. And as added in a recent version, we have different sounds for any of these map heads. So I'm going to show you this in another place. Here we are. So here I have an array just to show you what sound is being produced depending on the block that is just under the Noteblock, as you can see here. And we're going to see them one by one. For example, any dirt type or any block that is not registered in the table emits the harp or piano sound. The string bass is using wood. Sand and gravel produce the snare drum. Glass emits clicks and sticks, which in the table shows no tunes, but we're going to see this later, which is quite interesting. Any stone makes the bass drum. Gold produces the bell. Clay makes a flute. Ice produces chime. With wool, we can make a guitar. Bone block, a xylophone. Iron block, iron xylophone. Pumpkin makes a didgeridoo. Soul sand, cowbell. Hay bale, a banjo. Glowstone block, pling. And with emerald block, a bit sound. Quite a modern sound. And of course, each of these heads emit its own sound. The skeleton, wither skeleton, their head. It seems you can upload a sound. By the time being, I have not done this. I haven't learned how to do this, but according to the information I found, you can. The zombie, the creeper, the piglin, and the dragon head. And of course, combining all these sounds and varying the tune, we can make interesting tracks. Another thing I want to talk about is about this column, where you can see range. And this one explains which is the range, or which are the tunes you can reach with each of these instruments. For example, here in wood, you can see the string bass, which reaches from F sharp of the first octave all the way to F sharp of the third octave, so we can have a range of 2 octaves, which represents 25 semitones. In the next table, which I also obtained from the Minecraft wiki, we're going to see some numbers. As we saw in the previous image, we're going to start with F sharp. We start with the first one, for example representing with wood. We can go all the way from here, going from tune to tune, making right click in the Noteblock all the way towards the tune number 24. And as you can see here, the range of each of the instruments is 25 semitones, which are listed on this column over here. This is all basic musical theory, but we're going to see how all this is applied in Minecraft. For example, here, we're going to use the bass string, which is represented by wood, and place a Noteblock here. Remember that if we hit the Noteblock, we're going to emit a sound, or a tune. If we press F3, we're going to see on the right side, here where it says note 0. What we do to change that value is right click. Here we have 1, 2, 3, and as you can see, each time we right click, this is going to rise and rise. And each time we're going to raise the tune. The sound is going to get sharper. And the particle that is going to be emitted by this note block is going to change color depending on the note of the block. For example, here we have note 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and as you can see on the table, we're going to continue to go up and up. Until now, we are at note 12, which is represented by F sharp. If you right click one more time, we're going to go to 13, which is represented by G. 14 is G sharp, 15 is A, 16 is A sharp, and so on and on. So we're going to get all the way up here, which if you can remember on the list, the final note is 24. And if you right click one more time, it starts all over again. In that way, we can cover all the range of the 2 octaves of the block. So as we remember on the table, the range of each of the note blocks is 2 octaves, which represents 25 semitones, and we're going to see them right aligned for each of these instruments. Here we can see the first note block is adjusted on note 0, the second one is note 1, the third one is note 2, 3, 4, and all the way towards 21, 2, 3, 24. So here we can see that the piano goes from F sharp 3 all the way towards F sharp 5. This is the bass from octave 1 towards 3. This is the snare drum, where the Minecraft wiki shows no tunes, but we can listen the scale of the tune. The same thing with clicks and sticks. The bass drum. Now the bell from the 5th towards the 7th. Flute from 4 to 6. The chime from 5 to 7. Guitar from the 2nd to the 4th. As you can listen, these are low notes. Here we can listen to the xylophone. The iron xylophone, which goes from 3 to 5. The didgeridoo from 1 to 3, which are also low notes. The cowbell from 4 to 6. The banjo from 3 to 5. The pling from 3 to 5. And the bit also go from the 3rd to the 5th. As you can hear, all of these have different ranges. And yes, the tunes can vary from instrument to instrument. Now another thing I want you to see is the next image, where I have already located the range in tunes of each of these instruments. Just to compare one to another, you can see that each of the octaves is delimited by F sharp, which in Minecraft seems to be the tune that represents the beginning and the end of each of the octaves, and all of these covers from octave 0 all the way towards 8. The lower note instruments are represented by the bass and the didgeridoo, which go all the way from F sharp 1 to F sharp 3. Then the guitar is represented here, which go from F sharp 2 to F sharp 4. We have other instruments like the harp, the beat, the xylophone, the banjo, that go from the 3rd to the 5th. Then the next higher tunes, which go from the 1st to the 6th, are the flute and the cowbell. And finally, the highest tunes in the scale are represented by the bell, the xylophone, which go all the way from the 5th towards the 7th. I'm going to make you a small demonstration about what we can do with the Noteblock. If there's something that Redstone is really good at, is timing. So using various blocks, we can make combinations depending on the instruments we want. We can vary the tunes, and that way we can build entire tracks. For example, here we can see the first drums track, and since Redstone allows it to vary times. For example, here we can see that these repeaters are adjusted towards a longer time than the second track, making a faster beat. For example, here we can make it slower and make a slower beat. One thing we can also do is take the end of it and backfeed it to the beginning, and that way we can make an infinite loop. And yes, we can make all of these combinations in order to make entire compositions, and not just the simple tracks I just showed you. And this can make a very complex world. I'm pretty sure you have already seen a lot of videos of people making their masterpieces, but for this channel being a technical one, I am just going to bring you the basic mechanics. This has been BPower161, and remember, well, one day I will recover my skin.